Hey, thanks for checking out the YouTube page. Welcome back. I'm Nathan Higgerson. I wanted to talk to you a little bit tonight about being prepared for Advent. We hear that all the time about get prepared for Advent. Make sure you're ready for Advent. But for us, what does that really mean? As youth, sometimes you may struggle with what that means. As an adult, I even struggle with what that means to get prepared for Advent sometime. So tonight I thought I'd just offer a little bit of a reflection and a little bit of time to share on some things that I see and try to do that help get me ready for Advent. What's important about Advent is keeping it simple and being ready for Christ's coming. That's what the definition of Advent is. That's what it is a time of. And you hear things like be open, be prepared, be ready. For me, I think it's easiest to think about that in those people who were involved with Advent, drawing from their example on what they did. I want to share and talk about 4 people in Advent and how they got ready. Mary, Joseph, the shepherds, and the angels. And I think for us, just taking the time to consider those 4 people, we can understand and get ourselves ready for Advent. So starting off with Mary. Advent is a time of preparation when Christ comes to us. And with Mary, we see no greater example of an openness and a willingness to be a part of God's plan. Mary was willing to carry Christ into the world. And for us, we're called to do that in Advent. We're called to be those who carry Christ to the world. And we can do that in so many ways, just by helping out around the house, by being extra patient with your parents, with your brothers, sisters, with your siblings and your family. Also in general in times of just offering extra help around the house. We can carry Christ to those. Showing a friend a little bit more friendship, and also being good and attentive to the needs of others. Those are ways that we can carry Christ to the people, as Mary did, carrying Christ physically to the world. Joseph is the second person. Joseph is such a great example for me as a man to look after and to want to model myself after him as a father of Jesus, but also as a willingness participant in the plan. But for us in getting ready for Lent, we see that the image of Joseph getting ready for the journey to Bethlehem. We see Joseph getting the donkey ready, packing up the cart, getting those supplies ready to make that trip. And for us, that's part of what being ready means. Getting ready, getting ourselves prepared for Advent. Ways that we can do that are just simply paying a little bit more attention to Mass, participating fully in the Mass by just acknowledging where you're at, hearing the homily, and setting yourself up to be ready for that. Just paying attention and knowing what it is helps out a lot, and knowing the readings and following Father's homily each week. The third person to consider is really more of a people, but it's the idea of the shepherds. And we think about the shepherds as those who just, came to the nativity. They carried the lambs, they brought them with them. But in truth, the shepherds were really a dirty people. They were kind of an outcast. They stayed on the outskirts of town. When they did come into town, nobody wanted to be around them. They smelled like animals. They probably looked dirty and grungy on things. And for us, this is such a great reminder of Christ came for everyone. Christ came for all of us. And getting ready for Advent, it's important for us to acknowledge that no matter who you are, Christ came for you. No matter how unworthy you may feel, no matter what you've done, Christ came for you. Just like the shepherds, who by society didn't seem like they belonged there. Christ wanted them there in the beginning, and he welcomed them. So we as ourselves in Get Ready need to acknowledge that we're loved by Christ, and he wants us to be a part of that celebration with him. And lastly are the angels. And we think about the angels and their role in this event, and when they appeared to the shepherds, when they delivered the messages to Mary and to Joseph in their dream. But in all of these, they are proclaiming joy. They're proclaiming good news in all of those situations. And for us, it's important that we carry that good news with us all throughout Advent. The joy that is Christmas and the celebration that it is, it's important for us to carry that forward. Others around us need to see that, and we ourselves need to be that. We're called as Christians to be joyful and to pray without ceasing. And Advent is certainly a time of that as well. For us, that joy that we carry is the coming of Christ. Not only the first time in the first Christmas, but in his second coming when he comes back. That joy, that hope is something that we can carry with us. And so I challenge you to be a little bit happier. Try to remember that joy when things aren't always going your way. Think about Christ and that sacrifice that he made. That celebration of that night for Christ to come down as God and become man and in that moment humble himself to celebrate the first Christmas. For us, that's a great message of joy. It's something that we can build on and hopefully carry out throughout the whole year. You know, all of these things are important for us as we get prepared for Advent. It is a great time of celebration. It can be adventure for us too, but we have to be open to it. There's that word again. But hopefully tonight you'll learn some ideas and some thoughts that will help you be open, help you get ready so that you can experience Advent and ultimately experience Christmas in a much fuller way. God bless.